Soviet Union after Stalin, balancing change and continuity. In 1953, Joseph Stalin's death marked the end of his strict authoritarian regime. Soviet leadership shifted to collective leadership, a system aimed at avoiding the concentration of power in one individual. This collective approach brought a temporary decentralization of authority, though it was later overshadowed by Khrushchev's rise to dominance. Khrushchev's leadership brought both hope and conflict. His 1956 secret speech criticized Stalin's brutal methods and initiated De-Stalinization. This striking denunciation aimed to reduce fear-based governance. By humanizing state politics, Soviet leaders sought to repair their global image, but new challenges emerged as they did so. The Soviet economy, heavily focused on heavy industry under Stalin, underwent reform efforts led by Khrushchev. Investments shifted toward consumer goods and agricultural development, aiming to improve everyday life for citizens. Despite these changes, results were lackluster, with persistent inefficiencies in production and distribution haunting the planned economy system. Continuing limitations of the centrally managed economy highlighted systemic challenges. While these reforms softened some criticisms, they never fully bridged the gap between supply and demand, maintaining doubts about the effectiveness of Soviet economic strategies. Stalin's unwavering stance in the Cold War gradually evolved under Khrushchev. His pursuit of peaceful coexistence aimed to thaw tensions with Western nations, briefly calming the hostile East-West divide. This strategy fostered hope, but failed to last, as Cold War rivalries reignited in subsequent decades. The Soviet Union's foreign policy during this period reflected its dual goals: maintaining its ideological stance while mitigating military and political confrontations. Although the détente temporarily reshaped international relations, competition with the United States remained alive and fierce. Khrushchev's era also saw cultural liberalization. Artists and writers, once suppressed under Stalin's rigid censorship, enjoyed newfound creative freedom. For a time, literature and films more openly explored human emotions and social realities. However, this liberal atmosphere was short-lived as later administrations reinstated stricter controls. Despite brief freedoms, Soviet citizens continued to face significant restrictions on expression. The balance between state control and personal liberties highlighted the Soviet state's ongoing struggle to maintain power while addressing its people's growing aspirations. Despite these sweeping reforms, several aspects of Stalin's legacy endured. The one-party rule of the Communist Party remained firmly in place. Unlike the political fluidity elsewhere, competing ideologies or parties found no opportunity in Soviet governance. The centralized planned economy persisted, continuing the rejection of private property or market-based solutions. This systemic rigidity, rooted in Marxist-Leninist doctrine, shaped every element of society, from education and science to art and military strategy. Repression also endured. Although softened relative to Stalin's violent purges, dissenting voices and opposition remained unwelcome. Control over political life and cultural expression reflected a state still deeply distrustful of its citizens. Stalin's death did not end the Cold War. While Khrushchev's strategies altered its intensity, the ideological tug-of-war with the West remained unyielding. This persistent rivalry burdened both the Soviet economy and global diplomacy, defining much of the 20th century's geopolitical landscape. The Soviet Union's changes and continuities after Stalin reveal a complex legacy of reform and resistance to transformation. While Khrushchev's leadership promised reforms and briefly delivered them, the state largely returned to familiar structures. This hesitant evolution offers insights into the system's eventual collapse decades later. Understanding these shifts helps us decode the fragile balance of power in any society. If history fascinates you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more explorations of pivotal moments, and share your thoughts on the lessons this era offers for today's world.